So I would start by saying I think we'll continue discussing around ONDC. I think Nandan set the discussion very well. Koshi gave a lot of explanation as to what the leverage can be provided from this platform. Protean eGov Technologies Limited. I just wanted to take 2 minutes of your time to actually give our introduction. You would be familiar with our erstwhile name, NSDL e-Governance Infrastructure Limited. So this is a journey of 25 years, moving from NSDL eGov to Protean eGov Technologies. As you are familiar, we are today touching all parts of the Indian economy. As a company, we are an IT services provider. We have been participating in developing and executing nationally critical and population scale projects. During the course of these 25 years, we started our journey as a market infrastructure institution for establishing the Central Securities Depository and went on to work with the government across various projects which were having an underlying theme of providing e-governance and citizen-centric services at the last mile. We will talk about this being as one of the key reasons. It goes very much with our DNA to be associated with something like online networks for digital commerce to see how the digital infrastructure and the rails can be created for enabling e-commerce and making it available at population scale and providing universal access. Over the course of these years, we've participated in multiple projects at a national level, be it modernization of taxation, be it issuance of PAN cards, online PAN verification. We've functioned in the space of old age pension and security, where we've acted as the central record-keeping agency and provided the main infrastructure and digital bulwark for supporting the national pension system and the Atal Pension Yojana. But I would come to something which is more relevant, and Nandan rightly called out. There are 3 pillars we are looking at now, be it in the area of digital payments, digital credit, or digital commerce. So a lot of the assets and the products that we have now on stack, which are very relevant for enabling this ecosystem, fall into these areas. So currently, we are a primary provider of providing services on the back of India Stack, or the Aadhaar stack, as we all like to call it. And we are today providing a complete set of services, be it e-authentication, Aadhaar authentication, eKYC, eSign services. And we are moving towards now linking up with the credit enablement and data-led services. We've set up an account aggregator company, and we are naturally associated with ONDC to provide infrastructure-level interventions, and likewise, at the same time, provide ecosystem enablement for various merchants to become a part of this ecosystem. If you see some of the numbers, I won't call them out, but Nandan was speaking a few of these numbers, and we are proud of the association and the contribution we've been able to make in the area of digital payments and digital credit. E-commerce as a whole, if we see, even at a global level, percentage of total retail sales still is at a 21%. When we primarily look at the Indian data, and I heard Nandan mention and then Koshi mentioned, we are looking at more like 3 to 5 to 7% of our retail sales going through the digital or the e-commerce channels. Now, when we look at where we are looking at going, critically, this will become a huge growth area. By 2030, we are talking about a $350 billion GMV out there. And it is critical that there is democratic availability of digital channels to each and everyone for us to achieve that. It will fuel a huge amount of gig economy, the gig workers. We are talking about digital economy and the scale of that. And that is directionally what will be enabled through ONDC. So today, when we see a lot of the unorganized retail or the self-organized retail, we are clearly seeing a majority of the Kirana stores and consumers in India are still digitally excluded. Koshi spoke about this, but I'm just putting a chart to make it easier for me. One of the easiest explanations I've seen around ONDC, it talks about the fact that it will enable buyers and sellers to be digitally visible and transact with one another through an open network, no matter what is the platform or the application that they use. So we move away from a platform-centric structure. We allow everybody equal access. So from a merchant point of view, it will make it easier for you to access more consumers. And for the consumers, it will provide them more choices. So I think it is a win-win across the board. Now, in order to make it happen, it will be very critical that while the discovery can be done, how do we go about creating the digital infrastructure or the rails to make it happen? So if you see these services, we are talking about the gateway services which will provide the network or the open network on which you'll be able to digitally discover the buyer and the sellers across applications and platforms. Other equally important areas will be in the areas of governance, in the areas of code of conduct, fair practices, and that is what we see on the right, where we are talking about network policies, network conduct, and the entire infrastructure will have to be governed so that it is fair and it is open. Just calling out the stack of products that become relevant in this case, and these are the product synergies we see. So right from digital identity and onboarding, where we are talking about enabling the entire payments layer, digital agreement signing, any merchant's signatures to come into the ecosystem. The open digital ecosystems sit at the heart of it as a central system. Data services and digital lending, again, the entire piece about digital credit. And last but not the least, open registries and credentialing, which is where the entire database and the ledgers of merchants can be provided for easy discoverability to the consumers. So as an organization, we clearly are today playing a role across multiple areas. One is at the infrastructure level, where we are looking at functioning as a gateway, which means providing the linkages across the ecosystem, functioning in the space of providing registries, which are databases which can then be accessed by the consumers. But most importantly, looking at creating buyer and seller adapters, which means priming the ecosystem with whatever technologies are out there, either providing a full stack of services, which allows you to link up with the ecosystem, create the right protocols, the standards to be linked into the ecosystem, and enabling merchants, small or large, to make sure that their technologies are rightfully aligned to connect with the gateways and the registries. So there's a whole stack of information out there. So we are talking about level 1 or the basic APIs, which will clearly link to your systems at the baseline level if you want to have a system which is already primed and just need to consume certain APIs to get into the ecosystem. We are talking about level 2 adapters, where naturally there is a certain level of customization which needs to be done across your technologies. We can play a role in that. And the third very critical is we can talk about designing reference applications both on the consumer side and on the seller side, which can provide a complete stack of services to engage with the system. Equally important is assisted onboarding of MSMEs, because that is critically, again, a huge, large area out there that needs to be enabled, and the digital onboarding of brands. So this is the stack of services we would like to list out over here, which becomes very relevant for creating the right plugs into the ecosystem. And I would like to conclude with that. So while it was a lot about the company, but I think equally important for us is to say, how do we play a role in this? How do we provide the tech to enable it? How do we allow the ecosystem players to adapt and adopt these technologies and standards so that they are easily discoverable across the new ecosystem that will get created through this. So thank you very much.